Brian, here you go. Okay. Hi everyone and welcome. Today's session is all about residential life. So we have the Director of Residential Life joining us today directly from Botts Hall to give you a look at living on campus. And with that, for today's session, you can join us in the chat. I'm going to make sure that your questions are directed to Jenny to answer. So please feel free to use the chat feature to interact with us and get your questions answered. This session will be recorded as well, so please use that to your discretion of whether or not you want to turn on your video and join us. You will be muted for this session, but again, use that chat feature to ask us your questions. So with that, live to Jenny from Botts Hall. Jenny Boyer is our Director of Residential Life, and she's going to give you a look at living on campus. Go for it, Jenny.
Hello, students and families. If this is your third session with me today, the third one that I'm in, you get a gold star because we've just talked a lot today. This is going to be more of an informal session. Many of you students, from Grace, many of you students might have done this with me. So we did a huge Zoom. There were like 300 or 400 students at the beginning of the summer where we walked all around Botts Hall and walked all around the room. And so some of you may have been there for that. We're going to do that again. I'm just going to kind of walk around, try to go back to things if there are a lot of questions about those things. I do want to say a few bits right off the bat. First of all, move-in information is going out tomorrow. So there is a rather large email going to your JU email address. It's super important that you check your JU email address. It's going to have all the details about what you need to know for move-in, how you need to prepare, some of the limitations, some of the things we've added in, and it's going to give you all the directions for what you need to do to sign up for a move-in time slot. We're also doing a move-in session later on in orientation. So you'll get that email and then you'll be able to come to that session and we can answer any questions or any confusion you have about move-in. So not that I won't answer questions, but I just want to say that ahead of time. You're not behind. Nothing is out yet. It's coming out tomorrow. So as far as living in the hall, the first thing I want to say is that you're going to notice that this is a room for 2 people, and it is not the Taj Mahal. It is a dorm room. This is a residence hall. It's a small space, and that's a part of living in college. We believe that you living with another human being who is very likely different than you is a positive growth experience for you. And so I want you to come in with this mindset that this is not going to necessarily be this easy breezy thing. Like, you're living with somebody you don't know. And there's none of us that could just step into that and do it perfectly. We're going to all have to learn together. If I today had to go live in a small room with a stranger, like, I would stumble, I would make mistakes, I would feel nervous or embarrassed at times. And it's a growing experience to have conversations. And that's a lot of what we're here to help you with. A conversation is when a person and another person talk. It is not texting. It is not Snapchat. It is not any other social media form. It is when you and I have a conversation and talk. So I know in the world we live in now, we call a conversation so many different things, but when you're living, literally, I think these beds are, I don't know, 8 feet apart. That's just a new experience for everyone. And I want to kind of ease some of your nerves and just knowing that you're not alone. If you're feeling like, how is this going to go? It's going to go great. It's going to be fine. And everybody's going to learn together. Okay. So in every single room, there are 2 beds, 2 desks and desk chairs, 2 dressers that are 3 drawers, or 1 dresser that is a 6 drawer. We'll come back to that. And then there's a closet space. That's for Bots and Williams. I know some of you are living in Oak. Oak has the same furniture, it just is set up a little bit differently. The closet space is a little different, and then of course your bathroom is different. So I'm gonna concentrate on showing Bots. Bots and Williams are the same footprint. They're like the same buildings that were just renovated 2 years apart. So I don't want you to feel like if you got into Bots and not Williams, like this is a great picture of what Williams looks like as well. Okay, so we're gonna turn this camera around and I'm gonna try to be as like steady as possible. Okay, so I'm showing you the door because we're gonna start there. This is the lovely hallway. And this is my room. I live in 158. I have a little bulletin board right here I could tack stuff on. Maybe my RA will put something there to remind me. Then we come into our room. You can set up your room however you would like. There are a lot of options here. This is the showroom that admissions uses, but you can do whatever you would like, okay? This is Bots Hall, and it looks almost exactly like Williams Hall. Okay, so let's look at this desk. There is one of these per student. So in this room, this one is right here, and the other one is over there. That's where I was sitting a second ago. So you can see it has a drawer, it has some shelves down there, and then it comes with a desk chair. An important thing to note is that all the furniture that comes in the room has to stay in the room. So a lot of students bring a comfy chair or a gaming chair, but just so you know, the chair that comes in the room does have to stay in the room. So you could always repurpose it. Let's talk about beds. This bed is up high. We would call this lofted. That means that it is way up here. It's above my waist level. It's lofted up so that if I even wanted to like put my desk in there and sit, I could. All of the beds have the ability to do this. So if you look at them, this right here, you can just take the frame, you pop it right off, and you can move it to any of these right here to make it lower or higher. This bed's a good example of it being lower. This bed's closer to waist height. It still was able to fit the dresser underneath, but you can see you almost have like a headboard situation and a footboard situation if you didn't want your bed so up high. One thing that you can do is actually bunk these beds. So there is enough room here to put this bed on the highest one. So it's not even on the highest one. It could actually go one more up. And then you can just put the other bed under it and store the extra set of bed ends. Not a ton of students do that, but you can see how much more space there would be if you did decide to bunk your beds. This is an example of the dresser. So this does have 3 drawers. I will say in Williams, some of the rooms have 2 3-drawer dressers, and some of the rooms have 1 tall 6-drawer dresser. We're working to replace those with 2 3-drawer dressers, but for right now, for this next year, some of the rooms still have a 6-drawer dresser. None of the rooms have a wardrobe anymore. That is like latest and greatest update. Probably this information that is new to you in this moment. Williams Hall, the closet looks exactly like this. It has a rod across the top, and the dresser is inside of it. You either have 2 3-drawer or 1 6-drawer. I would say it's fairly common. You can see the rod is kind of inset and a little low. I would say it's fairly common that students come, get settled, and then go to Walmart and get something to be storage up here. I would also say it's kind of common that students put a tension rod up over the closet. So you can see that this wall sticks out, and you could put a tension rod up if you wanted to and hide that entire closet space. Again, completely your choice. Some students actually use this as a TV area. So they pull the dresser out just a little bit and put the TV on it and then have their closet all around it. Really, the world is your oyster, and you get to decide how you would want to decorate this. Ami, have any questions come in about the room?
I have 2 questions about beds that hopefully you can answer for me. So
Okay.
one says, can you loft your beds yourself, or do you need to put in a work order to make that happen?
That's a great question. So we want to encourage students to loft the beds themselves, and we will have mallets available to check out. Sometimes a mallet is just really helpful. You could also bring your own mallet. Usually you can get them for $5 at Walmart. It's just a rubber mallet. And that's really just because sometimes these get in here so hard that it helps to have a mallet to just pop them out. If you ever have trouble with your bed and you were really hoping to move it and you just can't seem to get the frame out and move the ends, you can always submit a work order yourself, and facilities will then come in and help you. One thing just to know about that is they will probably call you. The work order you submit, well, you can put your phone number. They'll probably call you to arrange a time when you're going to be here, just so that they can understand what you're trying to do. But most students should be able to do it themselves.
Awesome, thank you. Are bed rails supplied if requested?
They are not. So I'm assuming that that means like a bed rail that would go here to maybe protect, or maybe go there would be a better example, from falling off. And we do not have any bed rails.
Okay, thanks. And then there was a question about dimensions of the desk. Can folks find the dimensions of things on your website, or can you share that with us?
Yes, they can find them on the website. I do not know the exact dimensions of desks, but you can absolutely find those on the website. And I would say just one quick note about that. Sometimes families get so eager to do all the prep work ahead of time. And I've done Res Life for 10 years now. And I always tell families, hold back a little bit. I know that we're in some unique times, but we do have a Walmart super close by, a Target super close by. And I think sometimes the best decision cannot be to overdo it. Get in the space, see how you're arranging it, and then go out and purchase the storage that you're looking for, or order it on Amazon and wait a few days for it to get in, because you would just be so surprised what you end up needing versus what you thought you were going to need.
Awesome. Do you recommend mattress toppers for these beds?
Yeah, I think that that's a personal choice. I would say they are extra long beds. And again, you do have to leave all the furniture that comes in the room. So keep that in mind. You can't give your mattress to anybody else, or take the mattress out of the room. You do have to use the mattress. And part of that is just because these mattresses are certified and bed bug cleaned and all the things. So we don't allow students to bring in mattresses. But as far as a mattress topper, I think that that's extremely common. If it was me personally, I probably would.
Awesome. Can you bring in a ladder for the beds when they're lofted?
Sure, that's totally up to you. You would be amazed with the furniture that people bring in. So again, you can bring in what you want, as long as it's within our guidelines, and all of that is posted online. I would say pay really close attention to that list as far as a lot of our lighting, candles, that kind of things. But we have a lot of students that bring in headboards that are homemade, ladders. That's totally fine, again, as long as the furniture that comes with the room stays in the room.
Awesome. Let's see. There's some questions about closets, areas. Can you talk a little bit about the closets in oak? I think was a question that popped up.
Yeah, so I would say the closets in oak are just, they're separated. So I'm gonna kind of turn this around again. This is a great example of the Botts and Williams. The closets in oak, instead of being one large closet like this, are two small closets. So it's just two small closets, but each still does have a rail, and there is a little shelf at the top. So it is pretty much like half of this space. And then right above the rail, there's actually a built-in shelf in oak. There's not a way to tell if you're going to have two 3-drawer dressers or one 6-drawer dresser. I did see that question.
Awesome.
I am going to show you the bathroom and the hallway.
That sounds like a great plan.
I'm going to make sure that I have the key. Oh, I put it in my pocket.
On the way to the bathroom, can you talk about the Wi-Fi? Do we get good Wi-Fi? I know that's—
Yeah, we do. We get great Wi-Fi. I'm walking around the hall right now on the Zoom with Wi-Fi, so I suppose it'd be very problematic if I lose the Wi-Fi.
Sure.
So this is a great example of a common area. This area is prepped for fall yet, so when it is, we will also have a wipe sanitizing station and a lot of educational material but we do have some water fountains. And then this would be the bathroom for this hallway. Normally the door would be closed, but again, this hallway would be one gender's living here and using this bathroom. And you can see there is a set of sinks here. This is a bank of toilets. And then around the corner is the sets of showers. So there's a little privacy between where the showers are and where the toilets are. I saw somebody say, can you show us the showers? I will warn you, I mean, like, we're still cleaning Bots Hall from some maintenance that was done. So it is not fully, yeah, this is what the shower looks like.
And how many showers per bathroom?
Sorry, what was that?
How many showers per bathroom?
There are 2 showers on this first floor bathroom. And 1, 2, 3, 4 toilets. And 1, 2, 3, 4 sinks.
Awesome.
And I would say, I know community bathrooms is usually a really new experience for freshmen. I don't know when else in your life you might have had to live with a community bathroom. But we do not hear issues of students not having a bathroom. So students just all have such different schedules and different needs that typically it's not an issue of having to wait a long time for a shower or a toilet or anything like that. That's just not typically complaints that we hear to ease your mind.
Yeah, for sure. I know there were some questions about mini fridges. I know that's a great thing that you can bring, but there's some guidance about that on your website, right?
Yes, there is. You should look at the size of mini fridge and then the watts for the microwave. I believe the size of mini fridge is 3.5 cubic centimeters. It's your basic mini fridge. They make some now that are real bougie, that are like big and have freezers on them. And so that's probably not gonna fit in those guidelines. It's just the basic mini fridge. And then as far as a microwave goes, it's an 800 watt microwave. So that's not really about the size of the microwave, it's about the wattage of the microwave. I'm gonna show you the laundry room really quick. So I have walked down to the lobby and I'm gonna go into the Bots Hall laundry room. This is the one laundry room for the whole hall. And you can see it is huge, 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 huge. There's an entire bank of machines on that wall, on this wall, and on this wall. These laundry rooms are the largest laundry rooms I've seen in a residential facility. And the laundry is free and easy to do. Let's check out the lobby really quick. Both in Bots Hall and Williams Hall, and Oak for that matter, there are microwaves in the lobby. So if you don't want to use the microwave in your room, you can use the microwave in the lobby. I saw a question about the laundry room in Oak. They're really all the same. Different amounts of machines, but they're all huge. I would say the one in Oak is our largest hall, and the one in Oak is even larger than that one. A little kitchen area down here, and this is where there's a couple of microwaves and a stove if students would like to just use these instead of in their room.
Awesome. Can you talk about maybe cleaning for the kitchen? Who does that? How often? That kind of thing.
Sure. So our partners at Airmark, they do all the cleaning of our communal space. So in a freshman hall, almost all of it is communal space. They clean our spaces this upcoming year. They're going to do it twice a day, 7 days a week. So you will see them in there frequently. Our staff helps clean the microwaves because there is some guidance around the kind of material that can be used in microwaves. But we will have sanitizing wipe stations in all community spaces. So in the lobby, in any of the common spaces on the halls, in the community bathrooms. So what we're hoping is that students engage in that with us. So desk managers, for example, that sit at the desk will be periodically cleaning in between when Airmark cleans. But our hope is that if a student comes in the lobby and they want to sit there and study together, that they would get a wipe and they would also wipe down before they sit and after they sit.
Awesome. So Jenny, we've gotten some questions about decorating their residence halls. So what are those
Yeah,
main guidelines and all of those decorations to customize your room?
a great question. I'm just making my way back to the room. So here's what we ask students to do. You are going to be responsible just as if you were renting an apartment and you had a new lease. You are responsible for damage that you do in that apartment. So our recommendation is, you can see this poster is up. That poster is up with 3M strips. I will say from years and years of 3M strips, you have to use them correctly. What that means is that a lot of people using 3M strips, they want to completely hide the strip behind the piece of artwork because that's what looks nice. And then when you go to take it down, you have no tab to pull. You're like yanking it off of the wall, and that can cause actually a lot of damage. So if you use 3M products, I encourage you to really read them, make sure you're using them correctly, leave the little tabs out so that you can like pull them with which releases it off the wall. But you can also use small nails and tacks. And we recently changed our policy on that. And what we're hoping is that students understand, again, you have to be wise in the choices that you make. So if you hang up a bunch of 4x6 pictures and you make 50 tack holes in the wall within a like 3-foot space, you're probably going to get fined for that because 50 tack holes is a lot and we're going to have to repair that. But if periodically you use a tack or a really small nail to hang something up, that's actually really easy to repair. You're not likely to get fined for it.
Awesome. That's great. We've also had questions about lighting in the rooms. Desk lamps, are those recommended, or big lamps? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so let's talk about lighting and fans. So I think that this is a really great roommate point. Two of the most common things that roommates may differ on is how much light they like, when they like that light, and then also fans for noise, for comfort. And so I always encourage students to think through those two things. Have a personal light. Maybe that's a desk lamp. Maybe it's just a book lamp, something that goes onto your bed and your headboard, because we do want to be respectful of the person that we're living with. And so if you're living with someone and they need to go to bed at 11 p.m., but you're really hoping to study in bed for another hour or watch Netflix on your headphones, then you're going to need a personal light to do that. I don't think that it's very reasonable to expect for the overhead light to be on when one person is sleeping and the other person is trying to go to bed. So I think every student should bring their own kind of personal light source, just to be respectful of who you're living with and to think through that. And then also a fan. Residential facilities are noisy. I lived in one for almost 6 years. I still live on campus, but not in a res hall now. And that's when I started using a fan in my life. The AC is great. That's all I'm saying. But a fan for the noise. There is just noise. And I think getting adjusted to white noise can be a really helpful thing as a college student. And it can also help between you and your roommate if one of you likes it colder and the other hotter. The temperature is controlled within a certain amount. So you don't have a lot of control over it, but sometimes in the winter months, maybe you want to open your window. I just think a fan always helps with our own personal decisions about how hot, how cold, how loud, how quiet we want it to be.
Awesome. On that point of noise, can you talk about what are the policies for sound or noise in the rooms, how loud music can be? Can you play music in the bathroom? What are those thoughts?
Yes. So we do have quiet hours, and all of our residential policies are online, and we encourage students to read through them. So if you go to our website, the residential life policies, you can kind of see everything. We do have quiet hours. I believe that it's 10 p.m. on a weekday and midnight on the weekend. And what that means is that at that point, if you are playing music really, really loud, or your TV is really, really loud, and your neighbors are concerned about that, we're going to ask you to turn it down. And I think that one of the saddest things that happens is when neighboring rooms just create some animosity over noise. It's just something that you don't need to create animosity over. We need to all be respectful of one another. We need to respect that even if you want to listen to music really, really loud, that doesn't mean that everybody else wants to hear that music, especially right now where we have so many devices where we can plug it in ourselves and listen to it in that way. So we just ask everybody to be respectful. There may be times where it is okay for you to play some music in the bathroom. Maybe you're the only person in the shower, or it's you in the shower and your friends in the other one, and they don't care. Or maybe it's 8 a.m. and there are a couple people in there getting ready and half of them are still asleep, and it's not a great time for you to play your music. So at the basic level, college students are adults. And we're going to ask you to be adults. We're going to ask you to be considerate of those around you.
That's awesome. Can you talk to us about, is there a dedicated study room in the halls? And then we'll talk common space if that's okay.
Yes, there are. So if you saw, I passed a common space. That was an example of an open common space with couches. Within all the halls are multiple. I think BOTS has, like 28. I had to do all of this for all the mitigation supplies that are going in all of them, all the sanitizing wipe stations that are going in all of them. And so some of them are open and more what I would call lounge space with couches, and some of them are enclosed in our study space that have tables and chairs. And I would say that there's an abundance. They're not used in excess, so there is plenty of space, and there's something that I think is a great resource for students. I've seen a couple of random questions I want to answer. Wax warmers are not allowed. So again, that's something within our policies. We just see too much damage with wax. Wax is just not repairable if it spills and gets everywhere. So we don't allow candles. We don't allow wax warmers. There's so many other alternatives to making your space smell nice. We do allow flat irons and blow dryers and other tools to style your hair.
Perfect. So there's been a couple questions about two things: pets, and then common spaces during this fall time. So what is the thoughts around how many people can be in a common space? What is that going to look like? So those two things I want to make sure we cover.
Sure. Yes. Okay, so as far as the common spaces, they're going to all be labeled. So there will be educational materials by every common space. We are not doing capacity in common space the same way as we are in some other areas. And partly that's just because generally we don't have a huge problem where a lot of people are in the common spaces. And again, we're thinking of the residential facilities as students' home. We are going to have capacity signs up for elevators. Just because those are very tight enclosed spaces that students are in for enough time. And strangers would be in. So I think in common spaces, most of the time, if I'm in there with two other people, I know those people, I'm living life with those people, I've chosen to be in there. However, I might be in an elevator with 5 other people that I would normally live life with that are going up to a completely different floor than me. And so there are going to be some signs up that reduce the amount of people in the elevators. Again, there's going to be those wipe stations in all the common spaces, and they're going to be cleaned twice a day by Airmark, but we're going to ask students to help us with that. If you go into a common space to study, wipe down the table before you study and wipe down the table after you study. I think that's going to be a way of living at JU. If you get your Starbucks, if you're in the dining hall, there's going to be so much availability for students to really care for their space, and we're going to be asking them to help us with that. As far as pets, we do not allow pets on campus. Please do not bring your pet. I feel so sad when I have to tell a student that their little puppy cannot stay here and it has to leave immediately. We cannot give very much grace. That is a huge liability issue. And it's also just a safety issue for our community. So we don't give you very much time. If you do bring your puppy and it can't be here, you kind of have to figure that out really quickly. So we encourage you to know that no pets are allowed. We do allow I think it's a 15-gallon tank. I would have to look on our website to know exactly. And that would be for like a fish. We allow a fish. If you want to get an emotional support animal, which is an entirely different thing. So we do have policies around an emotional support animal for students that need that. That goes through residential life, and that information is available on our website. So there's a set of documentation that has to be turned in for that animal. And then there is a whole set of rules that student has to follow with having that animal on campus. And it is specifically an emotional support animal. Outside of that, we don't allow pets.
Awesome. Thank you so much for covering that. There's also been questions about mailing things to campus and addresses and things like that. So I'm going to jump in and say that your student can request a mailbox when they come onto campus in the fall and sign up for a mailbox through our post office on campus. Once they sign up for a post office mailbox, they will have a designated number which they can use for all their mailing purposes, including Amazon. So they would use our main address plus their post office box number. They will not be able to receive items for students until they have that post office box number. So just wanted to cover that because that's come up in the chat. Question about, is there something we can use to support the bar in the closet? Can it hold a lot of weight? What does that look like? The bar on the closet for hanging clothes.
Yeah. Yes, it is huge and thick. And even right now, I would say this is a great example. I think that this is really common. Some storage units like this. This is, oh gosh, probably a 4-inch bar. So yes, I would say that's not typically a problem. We don't have them falling on us.
Okay.
Of course, you're welcome to bring a tension rod. I don't think a tension rod would hold very much, but students in general do not have problems with that bar holding all of your items.
Okay. Extension cords. What are your thoughts on extension cords?
Yeah, so I think that that's another great thing to read on our website. We have some specifics about extension cords and specifics about power strips. I was like lost for the word. So there is a very detailed and LED lights versus non-LED lights. All of that is super detailed out on our website under the what to bring and what not to bring. And it has been recently updated. So I think that that's something that everyone should read through. That way you make sure that you're bringing the correct items on campus.
What's the number one thing you would recommend students bring?
Oh gosh. The number one thing I would recommend students bring.
Your clothes and sheets preferred.
Well, right. Outside of the obvious, honestly, a fan.
Okay.
I think that fan and that personal light source is just really important. Again, to be respectful of who you live with and just to learn what it looks like to live in a residence hall with noise around you and your own personal temperature monitoring. Yes, there is AC. I know every time I mention a fan, someone's like, is there AC? There is AC. I just think often fans are helpful, even if it's pointing away from you and it's your white noise source.
Understand. There's been some questions about ice.
Yes, there's not an ice machine inside the halls.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. That would be super cool if there was.
Now, there's some questions about putting a shelf of the Benel bar. I know you talked about that and having storage up there. So that's definitely something that can happen.
Yeah, and again, I think that that's the kind of thing. So one of the number one things I would say, though, is don't bring too much. Don't overthink it. Get here, see what you need. And again, I think that that's a part of that respect piece with your roommate. You know, see what they've brought, see how your space fits in with their space, be honoring of that. There's so much time. It's kind of like when you move into a new house, you know, you have a lot of things to get, and the week after you move in, and that's okay. There is time for that. And I just really encourage families. I know that families, you know, are limited to that one day in the hall, but that one day would still allow you to see what's needed, make one Walmart trip with plenty of time, and then prepare from there.
Understand. Questions about TV size. Any recommendations? We
do not limit TV size or the amount of TVs. I say that because sometimes there's a lot of TVs. I think with TVs and then with microwaves and fridges, those are items that I always encourage students to talk to your roommate. Those are great shareable items. You know, especially if you're talking about a large TV. A large TV in Williams, it just doesn't make a ton of sense. Maybe one of you is bringing the TV and one of you is bringing the fridge. I would say that's super, super common. I've even worked at universities that limit one fridge, one microwave. JU doesn't do that. You could each have a fridge if you want. But I think it's a great opportunity to share in that with your roommate and not have a space full of things that you both don't really need.
Awesome, thanks. In the chat, I just threw in a what to bring on campus and a link to your residential life policies. Can you talk about kind of safety on campus and like securing your stuff? I know locking your room is so important. Do you have any advice on that?
Yes, we tell students to lock their room. Lock your room if you leave your room. Always have your key on you. Always have your ID card. I didn't really get to show you, but when I left this hallway and went into the lobby, I actually had to swipe back into the hallway. So you just always want to have your ID card on you. You always want to have your key on you. Like Kevin, our director of campus security, said earlier this morning, you know, this is not a crime-free zone. Crime does still happen here. It happens in a limited capacity, but it happens. And so I think that what can be really challenging is if a student says, oh, I think some things are missing from my room, and they've left it unlocked for 24 hours. Nobody has been there all weekend long. Those are the kind of things that I wouldn't leave my house unlocked all weekend long. And I encourage you to not leave your house. This is your house inside of your room. And so we tell students to lock those. You're also welcome to bring a safe. We do have some students that bring safes. I don't know that you need that. Again, I think you should have a trusting relationship with your roommate. But for students who are really concerned or do have some valuables, you're welcome to bring a small safe, and that's not uncommon.
Awesome. Can we talk about visitors for a little bit? Are visitors allowed to stay on campus with overnight, or can you have other students from other residential halls come visit you in your room? What are your thoughts on those details?
Yes, so this fall after move-in, so with move-in, of course, each student is allowed to have 2 guests for their day of move-in. After that, though, we are not going to allow any guests in the hall for the fall semester. We're calling a guest anyone that is not a JU student. So if it is a JU student, they can come into the halls and come into your space. If it is not a JU student, they are classified as a guest and they will not be allowed in the halls for the fall semester. We may change that for the spring. That's just something that's a little bit unknown right now.
Yeah, no, totally understand. Thank you for sharing that. Trying to get caught up on these questions. Does the desk drawer lock? Just a quick question.
It does not. The desk drawers and the dresser drawers do not lock. They don't come with keys or locks.
Okay, cool. I know there were some questions about rug sizes. I would encourage you to visit the website for what to bring, because there's some good recommendations on dimensions for rug sizes and again, dimensions of desks and floor. So great. Are family members allowed to come back into the residence halls on their move-in day if they need to like leave and buy stuff and come back?
Yes, they're just limited to that day. And here's the thing, guys, a lot of this is we're asking you to live in community with us, right? I'm not going to remember what your mom looks like. There's a lot of students. So we're not here to act as police. That's not what I want to do. I want to live in community with you. So we're asking everybody to help us in this. So absolutely what we're hoping is that if it is your move-in day, let's say that's Wednesday, you fully use Wednesday. And if your parent is helping you move in on Wednesday, then on Thursday, they won't come into the hall, because on Thursday, somebody else's parent is in the hall and that's their time. But absolutely, you have that day.
Awesome. About how many plugs are located in the room and kind of where are they located? Do we know that?
That's a great idea. That's a great question. I would say there are a few plugs. I'm looking right now. I can see 2 from where I'm sitting right here in Bots. I think there's a few, but I think that's the kind of thing that you got to plan for that when you get here.
Yeah, no, totally understand. How many rooms are in a hall, like a hallway?
Yeah. Oh, a hallway. So again, every building is different. Bots is a different size than Williams. There's an extra wing in Bots. Oak is a different size. So I would say there is around between 20 and 30 students that live on each hallway. So that would be between 10 and 15 rooms. So actually in Williams, I can tell you each hallway is 13 rooms. I don't have that number memorized for Bots, but it's between 10 and 15.
Awesome. And are there direct access ports in the rooms for wireless or for connection? Like
Yes.
awesome.
Yes.
Each floor is co-ed, or is it floor by floor?
Yeah, so it differs in the halls that are community bathrooms. So Botts Hall, Williams Hall, and then North Hall. Each wing that would be sharing a bathroom is one gender. Oak Hall, each suite side that shares a bathroom is one gender, but the suite that lives next to them could be another gender. In Botts and Williams, I would say that a lot of the floors themselves are the same, but that's not true everywhere.
Awesome. There was a question about guests for move-in for student athletes. Yes, that 2 guests per student is the same for all students moving in. Yes?
Yes, yes. And I will say if there are any students on here that are athletes or that are participating in early move-in, we will send out separate communication, but it will have all of the exact same guidelines. You just have a different date and time.
Okay. Are parents able to come for a visit to campus outside of a student's move-in day?
Yes, absolutely. They won't be allowed in the halls. I think that we are hoping, we're still waiting to see how some of our plans around our homecoming weekend, which is when we were hoping to do our 2020 graduation. We may have a visit day where parents could come into the halls around that weekend, just depending on how things are going. But generally we're asking that there are no guests in the halls during the fall semester, but on campus, absolutely. And I would say that's the same for move-in. So we know that many families, again, if your day is Wednesday and you're in Botts Hall on Wednesday, that doesn't mean you're out of town on Thursday, and you're still welcome on campus. We just are trying to decongest the halls for the students that are then moving in on Thursday. But Thursday would be a great day to walk around campus, to maybe go into our Starbucks and get something, or I go into some of the academic buildings. We're just asking you to not be in the hall the next day.
Awesome. I saw some questions about printers. They are not provided for you. You can print in the library if you want, but if you would like a personal printer in your room, you would need to provide that.
Correct.
There are questions that came in about move-in. I know you mentioned it earlier, move-in information is coming out tomorrow to their JU email. So for details about move-in, make sure that you check your JU email tomorrow, right?
Yes, and I would say I did see somebody ask, this always happens if I mention early movement, it's kind of like, oh, what do you have to do to get that? Students that are allowed to move in early are here for a particular reason and are part of a designated group. We don't offer early move-in to students in general. They are here under a roster with a specific group for a specific purpose.
Right, awesome. So I am going to share my screen with your contact information. If there is a question that maybe we missed in the chat and weren't able to access, please, please, please go ahead and email housing and they will be able to get those answered for you. I would also highly encourage you to check out the website links that we put up as well about the policies and what to bring and what not to bring. Those has such great information that can get a lot of those questions answered. So be sure to check that out. Email housing@ju.edu if you have a question. Make sure you do that. There's just a quick follow-up question. Can non-residential JU students stay over in a friend's dorm?
Yes, we're classifying guests as non-residential students. So, I mean, non-JU students, sorry. So JU students are allowed in the halls.
Perfect, thank you. And so again, move-in information comes out tomorrow. Check your JU email. That will have information about time slots, how you get connected for that piece, and guest policies and all of those great information. So make sure to check it. And then get in touch with your roommate is a great way. Jenny, how would you recommend we get in touch with our roommates?
Sure. So if you go in the housing portal, if you have a housing assignment, the last page is going to be a summary page. So the last step of your fall application is going to be a summary page. In that summary page, it will list your roommate and their contact information. If that changes, I always encourage students go to that summary page for, every so often just to see if your roommate has changed and you were not aware. If they're not responding, because the contact it gives you is their JU email, And like I'm sure all of you know, everybody's getting used to using your JU email. I think at that point, your admissions counselor is a great resource. We can't give anything else out other than JU email, but very often your admissions counselor will know that other student and can contact them on your behalf and say, hey, your roommate's trying to get a hold of you. Check your email and talk to them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jenny. This has been super helpful. We will be uploading this recording to our YouTube page. So check Blackboard for the links for students, and then for family members, you were emailed out the YouTube link in our welcome schedule. So go ahead and check that out. Thank you so much, Jenny, for spending some time with us today. We really appreciate it, and welcome, and we can't wait to have you on campus. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.